I was just thinking this through, Anderson. The Middle East is littered with the remains of great powers who wrongly believed they could impose their will on smaller ones, largely because for the smaller ones, the stakes are existential. If this were a one and done exercise, three successful sites strikes against Fordo, Isfahan, and Natanz, particularly Isfahan, by the way, people aren't paying attention to the fact that those are where the laboratories are, where the Iranians try to convert uranium into usable material for a weapon. It's also where the Iranians have stored, although I'm sure they've moved them, a lot of their stockpile of fissile material. If this were one and done, neatly, cleanly, our guys are home safe and sound. But the reality is it's not a one and done. And the Iranians have invested $5 trillion in this nuclear program. They've just seen 9 days of abject humiliation on the part of the Israelis, penetrating targets that no one, I'm sure not even our intel folks, believe that the Israelis could do, pre-deploying drones which attack missile bases once the campaign began, and leadership targets. So the enemy, the adversary, and the Iranians were playing with fire by ramping up advanced centrifuges and at least assembling all the elements. They're a threshold nuclear weapon state. They have everything they need to assemble a bomb. Whether or not they were doing it, frankly, is likely irrelevant. So Brett laid it out pretty well. They have short-range missiles against American targets in the Gulf. They've got asymmetrical warfare abroad, turning their terror apparatus loose on Israeli, American, and probably Jewish interests. And then, of course, you have Americans deployed in Iraq and Syria, which are vulnerable. That was true in the case of the killing of Qasem Soleimani in January 2020. And a lot of traumatic brain injuries on the part of U.S. forces and troops when the Iranians launched those missiles. We're going to have to wait and see. The Supreme Leader's got a decision to make, but it seems almost impossible to imagine, straining credulity to the breaking point, to imagine that this 86-year-old leader, whose goal essentially is to preserve the revolution and pass it on to one of his successors, can simply do nothing in response to what has happened over the course of the last, well, now it's the 10th day. He may have to calibrate his response, but I suspect we're not done with this. And for President Trump, this was almost, I'm thinking this was almost inevitable. It's not like a Nike commercial. Let's just do it. I mean, when we do something like this, the questions have to be asked: can we? And we could. Should we? And what's the impact? Clarissa points out the end state. That's absolutely the case. You can destroy Fordo if you don't change the regime and its acquisitive capacity to enrich uranium and remaining a nuclear weapons threshold state. What in the end have we really accomplished? You've bought time, probably a lot of time, but the story's far from over.